Welcome to the October 30th, 2012 meeting of the Glendale City Council. May we have a roll call, please?
Council members: Friedman.
Here.
Manukian.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
Mayor Quintero.
Here. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Councilmember Friedman.
I invite you to join me in renewing our pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Remain standing for the invocation. This evening, let us pray for the people of our nation along its eastern seaboard who have endured an epic storm and who are just now beginning to emerge from the devastation of Hurricane Sandy. Pray for those whom this disaster has left homeless, and especially for the family members of those who lost their lives. Keep them from further harm, everyone who is affected, and as we continue to pray for the ongoing recovery. Let us be thankful for our blessings and remember how truly precious life can be. And may this council be guided by the values and morals that best reflect our Jewel City's character and integrity, tonight and always. Amen.
Mr. Clerk, may we have your report?
The agenda for the October 30th, 2012 regular meeting of the Glendale City Council was posted on Friday, October 26, 2012 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
What's next?
Your presentation and appointments at 3A is agenda preview for the meetings of November 6, 2012.
Ms. Spears.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, for the Glendale Housing Authority for November 6th, we have no business agenda items. That afternoon, to commence at 3 p.m., we do have a joint meeting of the Glendale City Council and the successor agency. 2 items: presentation of an award from the LA Economic Development Council for Glendale being a finalist in their annual Most Business-Friendly City competition, and Director of Community Development regarding the Economic Development Business Attraction Strategy. Also that afternoon, we do have a special public meeting of the Glendale City Council. We have a public hearing. Director of Community Development, this is regarding proposed ISIS project to be located at 546 West Colorado Street. That evening for the City Council meeting to commence at 6 p.m., we have 1 item under consent. General Manager of Glendale Water and Power, this is regarding bid proposal received for the rehab of the Glorietta Wells number 3 and 4 project. And this is in connection with spec number 3495. Adoption of ordinances. We have ordinance authorizing the issuance of water revenue bonds, Series 2012. Under action items, we have 1 item, Director of Public Works. This is the public sale of surplus city-owned properties located at 765, 749 Glenmore Boulevard and 1644, 48, and 1652 Gladys Drive. We have 2 items under hearings. Director of Community Development, Glendale Register of Historic Resources Nomination and Mills Act contract for the property located at 221 West Kenneth Road, as well as property located at 1407 Imperial Drive. And that concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Next.
At 3B is a proclamation designating the month of October 2012 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month and the month of November 2012 as End Domestic Violence Month.
Okay, I do have a proclamation. It reads as follows. Whereas October and November are National Breast Cancer Awareness and End Domestic Violence months in the United States, 1 out of 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer. An estimated 200,000 new cases of female breast cancer were diagnosed in 2009. And mammography is recognized as the most effective method of detecting breast changes that may be cancers long before physical symptoms can be seen or felt. Domestic violence is a serious and violent social problem that exists in all economic segments of society, in all cultures, and in all countries of the world. And knowing that every 9 seconds a woman is beaten in the United States, totaling more than 1.5 million each year. Soroptimists are in a position worldwide to educate everyone, especially women, that they have the right to feel safe and to live free from violence at home and in the workplace, and that they have access to breast cancer prevention information and services. The Soroptimist Workplace Campaign to End Domestic Violence and Breast Cancer Awareness are ongoing Soroptimist efforts to promote awareness, advocacy, and action. Soroptimist is an international volunteer organization for business and professional women who work to improve the lives of women and girls in local communities and throughout the world. They have launched a worldwide campaign called Color Me Pink for breast cancer and Purple for domestic violence. Therefore, I, Frank Quintero, Mayor of the City of Glendale, proclaim the month of October as Breast Cancer Awareness Month and the month of November as End Domestic Violence Month.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, Mr. Ochoa, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here tonight representing Seroptimus International of Glendale to thank you for recognizing October as Breast Awareness Month and November as End Domestic Violence Month. As Mayor Quintero said, Seroptimus is an international volunteer organization for business and professional women who work to improve the lives of women and girls in local communities and throughout the world. The Glendale Club identifies the needs of our community and then establishes projects that best address these specific needs. In addition to our commitment to the Glendale community, we are concerned with effecting change at the national and international levels to improve the quality of life for women and girls. Each year we raise and award thousands of dollars to several charities and nonprofits for their projects, including breast cancer services at our 3 local hospitals, Glendale Adventist, Glendale Memorial, and Verdugo Hills Hospital, through our primary fundraising event, Bras for a Cause, which will be held on April 20 at the Hilton Hotel this year. This is the 10th anniversary of Bras for a Cause, and April will be the 70th anniversary for the founding of Seroptimus International of Glendale. So we will be recognizing these 2 events in a gala celebration that day. Our club also provides a cash award to women in our community through our annual Women's Opportunity Awards program. Recipients, many of whom have overcome enormous obstacles, including poverty, domestic violence, and drug and alcohol abuse, may use the award to offset any costs associated with their efforts to attain higher education, such as books, childcare, and transportation. Additionally, our club participates in the Seroptimus campaign to end domestic violence. Each year on November 25, the International Day to Eliminate Violence Against Women, Seroptimus members distribute thousands of purple cards, the color associated with domestic violence. The cards contain domestic abuse prevention information and hotline numbers for both national and local numbers. This campaign reaches out to women in the workplace since most domestic abuse victims are employed outside the home, and violence at home often spills over into the workplace. During the month of November, our club members will be distributing our purple cards for the End Domestic Violence Month. We have found that a discreet way of making these cards available is to simply place them in areas most frequented by women, such as in women's restrooms or fitness center locker rooms. Once again, please place April 20 on your calendar for our Bras for a Cause Anniversary Gala. We'll be back again, as you know, to remind you that the time draws closer, but in the meantime, you may want to consider creating and submitting a bra. The club needs additional individual as well as corporate sponsors in order to raise enough money that we can make a collective impact for the women and girls right here in our own backyard. Again, on behalf of Seroptimus International of Glendale, please accept our sincere thanks for your recognition and support.
Thank you.
Jasmine, for being here with me.
Thank you. Next, please.
At 3C is a mayor's commendation to the County Villa Glendale Healthcare Center, Country Villa Glendale Healthcare Center for achieving a 5-star rating from the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid for providing the highest quality of care to seniors.
Okay, I have a commendation to Country Villa Glendale, and it's in recognition for achieving a 5-star rating from the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid. I highly commend and appreciate your efforts providing the highest quality of care to seniors, and wish you continued success in Glendale.
Good evening, Mayor Quintero and City Council members. Mayor Quintero, I would really appreciate receiving this commendation from you, and I am accepting it on behalf of the employees who work for Country Villa Glendale. The staff at our facility are very dedicated to the residents we care for, and this is why we have been able to achieve a 5-star rating. The 5-star rating system was created by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid to help consumers compare nursing homes more easily. Nursing home ratings are assigned based on ratings given to health inspections, staffing, and quality measures. Details about the ratings can be found on the internet at Nursing Home Compare. We have a few pictures that we're passing around to share our facility with you. Country Villa Glendale is a 48-bed skilled nursing home, and we are very appealing because we are small, allowing us to create a comfortable, quiet atmosphere for post-acute care. We are very successful in transitioning patients back home or to a boarding care. Dr. Leila Hanna is our medical director, and Dr. Bagari and Dr. Zamorano are members of our Quality Assurance Committee. They provide valuable contributions that directly impact the quality of care and ensure positive outcomes for our residents. The services we provide include physical, occupational, and speech therapy, skilled nursing services, wound care, and IV therapy. We also have social service and an activity program that hosts a variety of events and programs. 50% of our residents stay with us short-term to finish recovering from illness or surgery, and the other residents stay long-term. Once again, I thank you for presenting this commendation. We are really grateful for this recognition. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next, please.
Next is City Council and staff comments.
Staff comments, City Council comments. Mr. Najarian.
Thank you. It was a busy week as usual. I was able to attend the ribbon cutting of the new Kaiser facility at 501 North Orange with our city manager, Scott Ochoa. This is basically an expansion of their current facility on Glen Oaks Boulevard, and they have expanded their specialties to include, I think it was optometry, podiatry, and pain management. It's a wonderful facility, and the Kaiser folks were very happy about, they call themselves KP. KP was very happy about expanding into the new facility. On Saturday, I had a chance to attend my hometown homeowners association meeting, Verdugo Woodlands, catered with Shriner's fine sausages. I tried to limit myself to just one. Very good event. Our police department was there in force, answering a lot of the concerns of the residents. And I really appreciate that. I'm sure many of the homeowners associations share the same appreciation when the officers are there answering some of the most mundane questions to some of the more complicated ones as to police enforcement, speeding, traffic, noise, and whatnot. Last night, I attended the Sunday night, rather. I attended the Armenian National Committee annual gala at the Beverly Hilton Hotel with my colleagues, and many members of the community were recognized for their good work in religion, in business, in the humanities, in charity. It was a wonderful event, so congratulations to the ANC.
Yeah, it was a busy week. It's always a busy week in Glendale. I can't remember the last time we all got up here and said, we didn't do anything this week. There was nothing going on. It doesn't happen, but that's what makes it a great city. So last week I was able to attend an event in which Aramac, which is one of the large employers in the city, sent 100 of their employees to the Salvation Army here in Glendale to volunteer for the day. They do this through their foundation around the region, I guess around the country probably, wherever they have locations. But it was really wonderful. The employees were so fired up. They were doing motivational exercises and physical exercises in the parking lot beforehand. And then they went in and revamped the Salvation Army's pantry, where they keep food for people in need in the community, and totally revamped the pantry and modernized it and built them shelves. They also painted murals for the inside of the Salvation Army so that their clients have beautiful murals to look at. And it was just wonderful to see these employees dedicate and donate a day of their time and their very hard labor to help out the community. So congratulations to them. I attended the Crescenta Valley Chambers dinner, where they gave out awards to community members, and there are way too many for me to list here, but they gave out several awards, and it was very well attended, both from Glendale and the Crescenta Valley and La Crescenta area. So congratulations to the Chamber. I was also able to attend the Verdugo Woodlands West Homeowners Association meeting, although I was a party crasher. Mr. Nigerian now lives there. I was just crashing, but it was really wonderful to come out and see all the neighbors getting together and seeing old friends and sometimes meeting new neighbors they didn't know. It's always a wonderful event, and wherever you live, there's probably something like this that happens every year, and I highly recommend that you go. In these times, it's so important that we all know each other and watch out for each other, and that's what these meetings are all about. So congratulations to them. I was able to attend on Saturday night the big fundraiser that Glendale Healthy Kids does every year. It was again at the Americana at Brand at the Amici restaurant. It was a really beautiful event, very well attended by members of our community, but also sort of local elected representatives. Adam Schiff was there, Anthony Portantino, and I'm sure others. And it was a really good event. I hope they made lots and lots of money. Of course, Glendale Healthy Kids provides free and low-cost medical and dental care to children who couldn't otherwise afford it. So it's a really important measure in our community, something that I'm so glad that our residents have the ability to partake in. If you or you know somebody or you have children and you're underinsured or uninsured, please look this group up as a resource. They provide, like I said, free and low-cost medical and dental care for children, and they're a resource that everyone should take advantage of if you need them. I was also able to attend the ANC annual banquet. It was jam-packed. They absolutely filled that Hilton ballroom. And again, they had elected representatives from really all over the state, I would say, and national representatives as well. So congratulations to all of the organizers of that event. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes. No comment. Well, there is a comment, actually, which, on a lighter note, I was out biking again last weekend, and in the Camino San Rafael area, and it was interesting to see that first there was a sign on one of the gates saying that there were mountain lions up in the hills, which I was not aware of, that they were in the San Rafael hills. I knew in the Verdugo hills there would be, but on the San Rafael. Second, it seems people take their house pets walking all over the place, and they don't clean up after themselves. I guess the assumption is that since you're out in the wilderness or on the fire roads, it's okay to not clean up, not pick up the dog manure that's there. But it's very, you go out to be in nature, and you on the side you see just rows and rows of, and they don't go up all the way on, you don't see it up on top of the mountain. You just see it. It seems like they go up maybe 100 feet, and then they come back down. It's not a toilet up there. It would be nice if people would clean up after themselves. So
I may put you in charge of that.
I would be more than happy to issue tickets.
Deputize you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, lots of events. The ANC banquet was great, and also another fundraiser for the Army of Pink at Glendale Adventist, and then I also attended a Seroptimus of the Verdugo's event, and they've raised over $100,000 in the past 10 years, so they're doing a great job. And like Ms. Friedman said, there's always some nonprofit or something to do in the city of Glendale, that's for sure. Any comments from the staff? Okay, next please.
Next is the consent calendar. The following are routine and may be acted upon one motion. Any member of council or audience requesting separate consideration may do so before a motion is proposed. Only item actually is the minutes.
I'd like to pull that item. No.
All right, a motion from Mr. Menuchyan.
Second.
Roll call.
Council members: Friedman.
Yes.
Menuchyan.
Yes.
Najarian.
Yes.
Weaver. Mayor Quintero.
Yes. Next.
Next is oral communications. This is a 3-minute portion reserved for community event announcements. We'll have a full 5-minute portion at the conclusion of the city business.
Okay, I'll start with Evelyn Van Orden and the Jewel City Knitters.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, citizens of Glendale, and surrounding communities. My name is Evelyn Van Orden, and I am president and founder of the Jewel City Knitters Guild. And I'd like to introduce to you Judy Gregory, our vice president. She helped me start the guild almost 10 years ago. And Maritza Sasaki, who has been a member for several years, and she is the owner of It's a Knittery, which is located in Kenneth Village and is our brand new sponsor of our guild. Her shop is now sponsoring our guild. We're a nonprofit organization, and our mission is education, philanthropy, and creativity. And we'd like to welcome anyone to join our guild to learn to knit or crochet, to share yarn patterns, and we donate items. We've donated thousands of items to over 30 local, national, and international charities. And we brought an item to show tonight. This was made by our guild member, Olga Martinez. It is an Afghan made of wool yarn, and it is destined for Afghanistan. We donate to an organization called Afghans for Afghanistan. It's usually wool items of like socks, sweaters, Afghans that go primarily to children in the war-torn areas. We also donate to local hospitals, to nationally chemo caps, and so on and so forth. We have no membership dues. We have a new meeting location, which is the beautiful Shoal Canyon Estates retirement community. They've welcomed us into their facility with allowing us to use a meeting room for free. It's located at 1551 East Chevy Chase, which is across the street from Glendale Adventist Hospital. And it's a wonderful, wonderful, luxurious meeting room with a patio adjacent to it. So I've put some flyers at the back of the room if you're interested in finding out more. And we have a website, jewelcityknitters.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ron Farina of the Red Cross.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council, and senior management staff. My name is Ron Farina. I'm the Executive Director of the American Red Cross. Here to make a few reports tonight. Wanted to let you know that due to Hurricane Sandy, the Red Cross has a monumental effort going on the East Coast, offering shelters, over 112 shelters open, and taking care of the folks affected with food, cots and blankets, a safe place to stay. One of the outcomes of this devastating hurricane has been the cancellation of about 300 blood drives. So in the immediate time period, there is blood supplies available, but over the long haul, there's going to be shortages. So this could even impact us on the West Coast. I think this is something that people locally can do, is think about making a blood donation. If they're feeling well and able to do so, they can call 1-800-RED-CROSS or go to redcrossblood.org and make an appointment. We collect blood here pretty regularly. The Civic Auditorium is the location where there's blood drives at least once a week, so that's pretty convenient. Then there's other community blood drives, but I would ask this of the community. I think a lot of people out there, in fact, most residents of Glendale always think globally. They're always concerned about their neighbors across town or across the country, and this is something that can be done to help those people. As for the local Red Cross, we're having an event coming up fairly soon on November the 11th, and I'm going to ask our good friend, the producer, director of this event, now in his 21st year, Fritz Coleman, to give me a little hand here.
Hi, everybody. It's your friend Fritz Coleman once again descending on the gorgeous community of Glendale to do our 21st annual comedy benefit for the Glendale Crescenta Valley chapter of the American Red Cross. I want to give you a moment just to try to absorb how old I really am. It's a 21st year, and this year we're doing it on Sunday, November 11th at 4 o'clock at the beautiful Glendale Center Theater. And once again, we find ourselves bowing in the direction of the wonderful Dietline family for donating their services on this day, including people to help us run our show. We're going to have the best comedians in the stand-up business, comedians you will recognize from television, comedians you will soon recognize and herald that will be famous on television. Open seating at $30 a ticket. Of course, we have VIP seating, and anybody in the community that's ever been to our wonderful VIP affair, this year it'll be afterwards, a wonderful meal, knows it's worth it. It's a $70 ticket. Of course, you're guaranteed seating right in the front, and $120 for two people. Two ways to get tickets. You can call 818-243-3121. That's 818-243-3121. Or if you're interested in corporate participation, either in buying a block of tickets to come to the show, or you'd like to participate in the program or in any other way, go to our executive director. He's Ronald.Farina, as you well know, at redcross.org. Again, it's Sunday, November 11th, 4 o'clock. Help us support the Glendale Crescenta Valley chapter of the American Red Cross, and I'm giving you lots of love ahead of time because I know you're going to be there. Thank you.
He's great. This started, as you might know, after the College Hills fires about 21 years ago. Fritz got involved and wanted to do something to help the community, and he started this fundraising event on our behalf, and we were the beneficiaries of it. So we're lucky to have him. I just want to announce tonight that we're going to, in an effort to try to fill the house of the Center Theater, we're going to put the last remaining tickets on sale as of tomorrow. They're going to be a 50% discount for Glendale residents. That discount should hit the GlendaleArts.org website by Saturday. All you have to do is type in the word Glendale as a promo code. So we look forward to seeing you all there, and everyone's invited. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Leon Mayer, Friends of the Library.
Good evening, Mayor Quintero, members of the council and staff. My name is Leon Mayer, and I just want to give you a little heads up for election night. The library is going to be open. The auditorium will be open with various TV screens to help you follow the election. Now, I'm here to talk about our event coming up the day after election, November 7th, 7 o'clock at the Central Library Auditorium. And we're going to have Peter Dreyer talking about his book, The 100 Greatest Americans of the 20th Century, a Social Justice Hall of Fame. Now, Dr. Dreyer is well known throughout the country. He's a professor at Occidental College. He graduated from Syracuse University and then went on to a PhD at University of Chicago. He's really well-read, well-followed, and he's a professor at Occidental College as their professor of politics and urban and environmental policies. He's written all sorts of things about urban renewal and things concerning our country and our history. And he's written this book, which actually I've already donated a copy that will be autographed by Professor Dreyer to the president of Glendale College, and I donated copies to the Board of Education for each of the high schools. I'm proud of doing that. It's the least somebody can do to help our children become worldly and nationally conversant with what's going on in the world. Now, just to give you an idea about the 100 greatest Americans, I read off some of the people first mentioned in the book, and I'm going to name a few more, and that'll probably be using up my time. A. Philip Randolph, Fiorella LaGuardia, Jackie Robinson, Bella Abzug, Theodore Roosevelt, Jane Addams, Clarence Darrow, Lincoln Steffens, Charlotte Perkins Gilman, and John Dewey. Now, John Dewey was a great philosopher, one of the greatest philosophers of the time when he was alive. Charlotte Perkins Gilman might be that well known to people, but she was literally the founder of the women's movement toward women's suffrage, women's work rights, and everything connected with the progress of women into first-class citizenship in our society. Lincoln Stevens, another writer and thinker, Clarence Darrow, the famous lawyer who brought the rights of individual defendants who otherwise didn't have a lawyer to be accepted and given rights in the courthouse. So thank you for giving me the time to start talking about our book. I have flyers which I'll give to anybody as I leave, and thank you very much. Admission is free, parking is validated at the adjoining parking structure across from the library. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next.
7A, under adoption of ordinances, is an ordinance amending Title 12 of the Glendale Municipal Code relating to the establishment of paseos. This was introduced on October 23, 2012 by Mayor Quintero.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Yep. No, sir. This would be just open spaces in different areas around town as right-of-way that could be designated for.
Let's say the bookstore.
Absolutely, they could have their own outdoor seating area. Hopefully, dog owners will clean up
Yes.
along these
Hopefully dog
paseos
owners
too.
will
You know,
Paseo.
that urban roll call.
Council members: Friedman,
Yes.
Nukian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Weaver, Mayor Quintero.
Yes. Next, please.
8, under action items, 8A is General Manager of Glendale Water and Power and Director of Administrative Services Finance regarding GWP Water Revenue Bonds 2012 Series. At 8A1 is an ordinance for introduction authorizing the issuance of Water Revenue Bonds Series 2012 in an amount not to exceed $35 million.
Mr. Ochoa.
Yes, sir. Going back to the spring of 2012, as you know, as part of the budget, we spent a considerable amount of time improving the financial footing of GWP, particularly on the water side of the utility. This spring, the council restructured the rate structure for water rates, providing a level of elasticity so that we would have a more constant revenue stream even as folks would conserve more, which is what we want them to do, but still recognizing that there is a cost to maintain the pipes in the ground and the infrastructure of the water that flows within those pipes. We zeroed out the capital improvement program as part of this current fiscal year's budget as a way to give council and the community and our ratepayers the absolute assurance that what we are building is what is needed to maintain that infrastructure and give us that opportunity to reassess what our priorities are. We have restructured and reorganized the department, both at the leadership level as well as at the line level, to make sure that we are completely efficient and cost-effective. And we have reemerged at this point in time with a new set of priorities, or at least a pronounced set of priorities for the projects that need to be undertaken for the maintenance not only of the physical infrastructure but also the economic infrastructure of the organization. So we are now at this point in our process where we would look to make that infrastructure investment, having made good faith to council and to the community. And with that, I'll ask Mr. Zern to basically review the discussions that we've had leading up to this point, and then he and Mr. Elliott will provide the specifics on the bond measure that we're asking you to consider. Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Just to recap on the more extensive presentation we made to you last week, where we showed you our 5-year CIP plan for the next 5 years and received your concurrence on. But I want to go through it one more time and show you where we've emphasized our investment over the next 5 years. Maybe I should go to them. Make sure my melon wasn't in the way. So.
What?
Yeah. The other side. Steve, the arrow on the right, top right.
So again, here's the look at it over the 5 years, and we have it segregated into the different programs. Again, first and foremost is our distribution system. As I indicated, this is where the majority of our money is going to be focused over the next 5 years. It consists of pipe replacement, pipe cleaning and lining, and in this particular case, a dedicated pipe replacement project in the Adams Hill area to increase pressure in that particular segment of the city. You can see over that 5 years, we're consistent in work we're doing, and we're expending quite a bit of our capital funds there. The recycled system, this is the Betty Davis Park project, which you've already approved. This is actually a total reimbursement from the City of LA, so this doesn't actually come out of the bond, but it is something that we're going to undertake as part of our partnership with them. Water production. So you'll see here we have pump replacements to a much lesser degree. A lot of money has been spent over the previous 5 years on the production and the storage systems. And so while we still are going to do some upgrades in these particular areas, especially at some of the older facilities, it'll be considerably less than we have in the past, again with the focus being on the distribution system. Water quality, as we continue our conversion to the chlorination system. We also have some nitrate treatment that we're going to need to do at some of our wells. And then in our system operations, which are supervisory control and data acquisition system, this is a key management tool that the water systems, the electric system has in place. The system we have for water is decrepit, to say the least. And this assists us in everything from acquiring data on the spot to how the water system is functioning, to leaks, to potential problems or line ruptures that we may have, and allows us to respond. And then we have a couple of other projects that are IS related, Information Services Department related, that deal with just an upgrade of our asset management system, some software that helps us better manage our energy purchases, and especially in the renewable area. And then overall, we have security improvements. And this will be something you'll see ongoing, is us investing at least some amount of money in upgrading our security over the years. And this is just the same set of projects, just arranged in a line order where you see a little more detail on exactly where we propose to do some of the pipe replacement. Again, you'll see that this is the majority of the funds we are projecting to expend over the next 5 years. It's the recycled again, the water production side, which is just a touch under $7 million. The water quality side, and then the systems operations for a total of $46 million over the next 5 years. You'll notice tonight the bond we're asking for or proposing is a $35 million bond, so that won't cover all of what we have included for the next 5 years. Our hope is that by the time we get to that 15-16, 16-17 year, we have acquired enough reserves that we're able to do a pay-as-you-go system on our capital program. So that's the plan. With that, I will answer any specific questions about the projects.
I have not really a question, but a comment. I believe when I asked for some numbers, you stated that in the past 10 years, Glendale Water and Power, between the electric and water side, has spent approximately $248 million in capital.
Right, between $248 and $250 million.
Right.
Those two.
So approximately $250 million that we've spent on capital improvements.
Correct.
In the city of Glendale in the past 10 years.
Right.
I just wanted to repeat that, kind of get it on the record.
I have a question. What are our current debts? What are the current bonds that have the water bonds only, because that's what we're discussing today?
Correct, and I think
that are still outstanding at this point, and how much are what is the outstanding balances?
And I was going to turn it over to Mr. Elliott and let him take the financials from there, but just in case if there was any specific questions about the projects, I'd be happy to answer those. And of course, I'm not going anywhere, so I'll be right here.
Don't go anywhere.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the financial piece of the bond issue, as you recall, when we came to you last month with approval for the bond counsel and underwriter, we have since met with them numerous times, putting together the official or preliminary official statement for the bond issue. Some of the key components of the issue, again, it's a $35 million issue to be paid back over 30 years. One of the key items and one of the big drivers of this thing is trying to do the debt offering now while we are at historic low interest rates. Even with the downgraded rating of the water fund this year. The financial advisor is projecting about a 4% interest rate for the bonds. And as you know, that's extraordinarily low for 30-year debt. The annual debt service would be about approximately $2 million, again, paid over 30 years to fund all the projects, or partially all the projects Steve just laid out for you. With your approval, we will move forward with finalizing the documents, and it will come back to you next week for final approval, and then we look to do a sale in early December as we move forward. The question on what's outstanding right now, the 2008 bonds, there's $50 million outstanding.
How much, 1.5 or 5.0?
5-0.
5.0.
They were issued in 2008, and we haven't started paying the principal back. The debt service on that is about $3.5 million a year at this point.
And we haven't started paying the principal back?
It was interest only for the first several years, and then it's backloaded with principal.
And any other bonds?
That's it for water.
On the water.
So we have, what was that $50 million spent on?
Those are the capacity projects that Steve had referenced.
I believe the
reservoir, the Chevy Chase.
the majority was the
big
reservoir.
one, Chevy Chase.
That was about $30 million, wasn't it?
It was a little over
35, I think.
Yeah, the
A
Chevy
little over
Chase.
35, yeah. 30.
Dietrich was the big one.
Yes, Dietrich was also a large project we undertook.
By replacing the pipes, that's what it was, right?
Correct.
Secondary.
Yeah. And again, the distribution system and the valving coming out of the dam, the reservoir.
And is it the annual debt service is $2 million, you said?
Correct.
On the proposed.
Approximately. Again, we won't know.
Dollars in interest we'll be paying annually?
Principal and interest. We don't know the exact structure until we do the sale and how we stagger the principal.
So by the time we pay it back, it'll be $60 million in
At least,
cash,
yes.
basically.
Mhm.
And how much will the $50 million be when we pay it all back?
About over $90 million, I think.
Okay, almost, so.
What's the interest rate on the bonds that were issued in 2008?
Look it up. I think it was a tick over 4%.
A little over 4.
Yeah.
A little bit more at the different time and at the different rating. So we go from AA to single A plus. That's important, but I think the raters and the bond sale will also be predicated on what the revenues are for the fund that we're anticipating for this current fiscal year being $46.5 million. Our debt service ratios continue to look very strong, and the coverage for the ratio, or the coverage for the bond issue, is something that our financial advisor continues to feel rather bullish about being able to achieve that lower interest rate that'll carry us forward.
Even with the downgrade?
Even at the downgrade, we're anticipating 3.9% for an interest rate on the sale.
Do we have a listing of our reserve funds, and by fund, exactly what are our reserves? If we have $400 million in reserves, do we have the listing of that? Exactly what it's made up of?
Of what the cash in the portfolio is? Yes.
Yeah. Where can I?
I don't have it with me, but we have it at the close of every month. And we'll be presenting that when we do the first quarter update.
Okay, you said you have it every month. Could you forward that to me every month when you
Sure.
get it? From now on?
The two single largest discretionary pots of money that we have would be the general fund reserve and, to a degree, the sewer fund reserve. The problem with the sewer fund reserve is that a large chunk of that needs to be retained in abeyance, basically, in case we ever do need to exercise the potential of buying out our partner on our sewer treatment
How much
facility.
is the balance in there?
What are we at right now, Bob?
65 million, was it?
What was that?
A little over 60?
Oh, yeah.
Over $60 million.
Over 60? And we borrowed 5 million out of it for another project, right?
That's
Correct. Correct. Loans for the part of the ISIS program, I believe.
And I get my sewer bills with my electric and water, right?
Municipal services, yes.
And it's pretty much considered a utility as well?
Yes, sir.
And how long have we had that balance in there?
Ooh, Mr. Manoukian, that balance has grown steadily for probably the last 8 to 10 years. Bob can correct me if I'm wrong, but we've been at that 60 million mark for the last several years, right around there. Even with and part of that's been our ability to make substantial investments in the infrastructure. So even though that we are experiencing positive cash flow, we've been investing it back into the infrastructure.
I understand. And what is the anticipated timeline in terms of the probable purchase of the investment, or Lagworth, you called it?
Correct. One of the things, Mr. Manukian, that we have a difficult time pinning down is what LA is going to decide to do.
For the past 8 to 10 years?
Correct. And they have changed their mind several times, and to a certain extent, we're at their mercy. If they decided to make a change at that plant, and they could literally make that change tomorrow, and then we'd be, 50% responsible for whatever that change is. So if they wanted to go to something like, we were talking a little bit about this last week with Ms. Friedman, was a reverse osmosis or membrane system. That could be 30 to 40 million right there, our share. So their planning isn't as tight as ours is.
That we know.
They go a lot on the whim of what happens at Hyperion, their main facility. The other thing that we were concerned about is they were talking about pushing all of the conveyance to Hyperion, of which we would have to pay what are called strength and MGD miles. That could greatly increase our annual costs just to convey and process the sewage.
Okay. And the general fund and the sewer fund reserves are approximately 110 million. What makes up the other 300 million of reserves that we have?
We have any number of restricted funds, either for grants or for other types of programs that we do need to maintain, for anything from liability to health care that is reserved on behalf of employees. It runs the gamut.
How much of those funds are utility-related funds?
Of the city's portfolio, of the overall cash?
The overall reserves?
Well, right now, I mean, the water utility is into the electrical utility for a large sum of money, and I think the net number on GWP is $20 million in cash, where our target in cash right now, and presuming that we end the year as we bottom out, losing some money in terms of our operations, despite the cuts that we've made, because we've made the cuts into the fiscal year, we may be in a cash position of $12 to $13 million at the end of the year. I mean, our goal is to be closer to $100 million.
I understand.
And so we're trying to make sure that we do a little bit of borrowing when rates are good and money is cheap, and save as much as we can to get to that pay-as-you-go scenario in year 15, 16, 16, 17. We show the water fund coming back into the black. At last model I saw was in fiscal year 2016. All that is well and good, except for the fact that we need to spend money on the infrastructure to maintain the system, because it's a little bit like the commercials on getting your oil changed. It's, kind of a pay me now, pay me later. We, at this point, have done a great deal of important work investing in capacity, and less of a good job, I think, in reserving some of those monies for distribution, and it's there staring us in the face. And so under a perfect scenario, we would wait and just do pay-as-you-go entirely. I don't know that we have that luxury at this point in time.
And how much did the water fund borrow from the electric fund which was, let me just call it what it is, mismanagement at that point, without, not on the current administration side, but that's what it was. How much was it?
About $23 million.
$23 million.
And the idea there was that we continued to build out the capital program as if we had done previous borrowings and previous bond issues, and we had not done those bond issues. So we just continued to spend cash on hand. So we took $150 million of cash and converted it into asset.
Is it budgeted at this time to pay back that $23 million
Yes.
from, and what is the annual payback? What are we paying back on that? Is it a note? Did someone sign a note
No.
It's just an accounting procedure that you're going
Exactly right.
And what is the annual payment from the water fund to the electric fund?
Well, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, the plan as we laid out when we did the rate study was to pay that back in 5 years. So we're amortizing it over a 5-year period.
$5 million a year?
Yeah, approximately.
And can this council choose to forgive the loan from electric fund to the water fund and not make those payments of $5 million a year?
Interesting question. I
can answer it if you want.
I don't think so. And let me clarify and add some information. As of the prior year, when there was a deficit in the water fund, we made a book entry because you can't, as you know, by definition, have negative cash. So we booked a loan from the electric fund. That just gets reversed July 1, so it's just a book entry at the end of the year. As of this year, because electric cash is lower than it was last year, we booked that loan to the sewer fund this year because sewer fund, as of last year, had $62 million in cash. Again, it's just a book entry during the year for the financial statement purposes. The game plan, though, through our 5-year forecast when we did the rate restructure is to generate enough cash through the operations to get back to zero operating cash and then ultimately get up to a level of, I believe it was $11 million to have on hand as a stated reserve in the water fund. And to answer some of your other questions, Mr. Manukian, as of last year, the general fund, as of last June, had $43 million in cash, and the entire city had $417 million in total cash, of which about $160 million were spread between the various enterprise funds, primarily sewer, electric, water, refuse.
Maybe I should turn to the city attorney. Does the charter restrict us in terms of forgiving loans from one fund to the other?
Councilmember Nukian,
it doesn't, but
it's a good
go
question.
ahead,
It's not specific in there that it can be. Again, remember now with the electric fund, we have restrictions under Prop 26 that may or may not apply. But I can't give you a hard answer unless I actually looked at it.
But if you borrow that thinking, the discussion that the council has had with respect to the transfer, for example, I mean, to the extent that that we stop transferring money on the water side, and we are organizing and really refining the way that we look at and make that transfer from electric to general fund, there's probably a good argument, solid argument to be made that which has been borrowed is that which has to be repaid, or otherwise it's a burden onto the ratepayers for a general benefit that they otherwise did not receive.
Right. That's if you raise the rates. But if you hold the rates where they are, then it's not. And second, at this point, we did not, water fund did not necessarily borrow funds from the electric fund. Basically, funds were used and were not kept track of. And we booked it as a loan because there was no other way of accounting for it, basically. It was an accounting procedure from the utilities fund. And if you put it all together, water and electricity, the way I get my bill, it's all in one.
Except that I really wouldn't characterize it as though you lost track of it because the money was not lost.
No.
The money got expended on projects.
Right, but somebody was not minding the store and not saying, well, you don't have, that is not in your fund to spend, basically.
Sure.
I didn't mean to.
No, and you didn't.
To imply that it was lost.
Not at all.
It's not kept track of properly.
That is fair. When you look at the changes that we've made in the utility, both on the financial side, where the financial structure of the utility now rests within the finance department, as opposed to under GWP proper, that's a big step in making sure that Mr. Elliott.
And I agree with that step.
Yes, absolutely. And then the change from a structure in which folks who are project managers whose job it is to build stuff, build infrastructure, are not necessarily in charge of making executive level decisions, we've rectified that as well. That still.
But I understand, like I said, I did not put blame on anyone, and yet
Surely.
the current administration, I know where things went awry, but, and I'm trying to get to the accounting point of view, how it was booked, and what was done, and how we will continue to work with what we have handed to us, basically.
Yes, sir. And the point's well taken.
And the question still is whether this council can say, well, we understand what happened there, let's stop it, because these funds are needed urgently in another capacity. So that is the question.
But I think you'd be basically robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're going to hurt the electric fund by forgiving its obligation to, or by forgiving the water fund its obligation to electric. And at the end of the day, it's all, I'm taking money out of one pocket to put it in the other, but it's the same pair of jeans.
You can make the same argument from the other side as well.
Sure.
Because you're proposing to borrow funds to cover the shortage in the water utility fund, where you're taking funds from water utility and putting it in the other utility fund.
Except that I would respectfully submit that what is needed at this point is an infusion of cash to repair infrastructure, which takes real money as opposed to book entries in our general ledger. We have a very real and viable need in the distribution system of our water system. And so even if we were to forego repaying the electric fund, there still is a need for cash that we wouldn't even have on the other side. As I say, we are likely to end this year in really bottoming out our cash position on GWP, even on the electric side. If we could, in a perfect world, as we demonstrated to council, adopt a zero-based budget and not do any capital, that certainly is within council's purview. That's the budget you adopted, with the idea that we would come back before you after we had bottomed out the agency, the utility, and resubmit to you, basically justify the existence of the capital program from scratch, which is basically what we're doing here today.
And I understand all that. However, my question, I guess, goes back to legal. And I do recall two discussions we've had relating to borrowing from one fund to another, and whether that was allowed by charter. It was the $5 million, and there was a limit on the transfer of the borrowing of the $5 million, and that limit could be circumvented by a vote of the council. So I know that is true because I looked it up in the charter. So my question again is whether we can deal with this loan that we're paying $5 million from one account to the other and keep the $5 million at least temporarily in the account where we need it, and then deal with the rest in other ways. But I do want to hear from the public as well. I see there's a card, and I don't want to monopolize the questioning, actually.
And then I'm going to have a question for Mr. Zern. Mr. Najarian.
No, but I have a question on that. So are you suggesting that we do that? Would you advocate that we do that?
I would like to hear other people's opinions on it.
But just so I'm clear in following that, you're saying that rather than put the loan payment in abatement from water to electric, right, and use that as a pay-go, use that as a pay-as-you-go for many of these projects?
Pay-as-you-go and borrowing some from other funds.
And you don't have the opinion on that, Mr. Garcia. You say you need some time to look into that.
Yeah, my educated guess would be that legally you could do it, but I'd have to drill down on it to give you a definitive answer.
Is that something that would affect any further rating that we have with any existing?
That I don't know, and I'm not an expert in that, but the answer to that is probably on the electric side.
I just wanted to.
Yeah.
I mean, the rating that we have right now from double to single A+ is with a negative outlook because we have previously made investments in infrastructure without consummating the financing that was supposed to have animated the investment. This meeting, I will guarantee you, is being watched by Moody's. Yeah, exactly. And that discussion does get had.
I didn't mean anything I said.
Because rest assured, when we have to consider an electric bond increase, those raters, those underwriters, as they view GWP Electric, are going to say, what assurance does the bondholder on the electric side of the utility have that the obligations that are owed to it will be collected? There's the game that we're playing is more akin to chess than checkers, as we try to figure out what the best way to fund some of these infrastructure investments truly are. I appreciate the creativity, certainly, but we want to make sure that this is done in such a way that it stands up to all the different angles of analysis and scrutiny that will surely be applied to it.
Mr. Zern, we've been dealing with the city of L.A. for over 10 years. I mean, is there any hope? What's your professional opinion? Do you think that they are actually going to do something in the next 10 years?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council.
Well, let me also ask, is there a state mandate, AQMD mandate, or federal mandate that will make them move on this?
Yes, okay. Mr. Mayor. There's the Clean Water Act and the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, which is regulating what can be discharged into the LA River, and that's the crux of this. That's what comes out of that plant. And so if, for instance, any discharge was not allowed, we'd probably have to then send everything down to Hyperion. Will they make a move in the next 10 years? That's hard to say. They're climbing out of a couple problems they've had internally with their conveyance system and some consent decrees that they're under. But I can tell you, as the next NPDES permit gets ready to be approved, it is ratcheted up considerably since the last one. And my sense is it will continue to be ratcheted up. And I think that the Water Board is probably going to begin to come down harder on municipalities in this next 5-year period, the term of the permit, than they have previously.
Particularly if they have the cities as individual permittees.
Correct.
As opposed to one county permit.
Correct. And that's what's occurred this year. We were co-permittees with the county. The county has decided that they didn't like that arrangement, so now we're going as individuals, which means, as Mr. Ochoa said, they can begin to go after us individually.
Okay, well, we have the money in reserves, but it's just frustrating after all these years, and they're still basically at step one.
And I will also tell you, Mr. Mayor, we have a pretty aggressive infrastructure plan for the next 5 years in that operation as well.
Now you tell us.
I think I've said this to you before. I don't ever want to see this city get caught where several cities are now, and that's to have a decrepit system that begins to fail and to go under consent decrees like L.A. is.
Right.
I mean, to have our system as bulletproof as possible would be my absolute goal, and I think the investment has been excellent. We've certainly spent within our means, but we've put a lot of money into that infrastructure.
Okay, I have one card, Mike Mohill.
Good evening, Mayor Quintero, council members. My name is Mike Mohill. Yes, what's done is done, Mr. Nigerian and Councilman Minukian. Thank you for asking those good questions. My fellow Glendalians, the proposed $35 million water revenue bond will not affect me because I have no children. But I have taken the advocate position that we need to operate Glendale Water and Power, GWP, as a sound business enterprise. Otherwise, your children will be responsible for the proposed water bond debt. The city recently raised our water rates 13% over the next 4 years. In addition, this is on top of the already 38% water rate increases residents and businesses have experienced since 2007. By the year 2015, residents, businesses, and schools will have been assessed a 51% water rate increase. The People's Attorney, Professor Harry Zavos, many times came before this council and challenged the illegal transfer of water bonds. Only when former city attorney Scott Howard, after nearly a year of stonewalling, advised council that the transfer stop. If our current city council and previous council had not illegally violated Proposition 218 since the year 2000, with transferring approximately $4 million annually from the water fund account to the general fund, then our current city council would not be discussing the need for a $35 million water revenue bond tonight to shore up the infrastructure of the GWP. Additionally, if council never imposed rate increases from 2007 to 2015 of 51%, it certainly would not be necessary for a water bond discussion tonight. We need to operate our utility company as a sound business enterprise and not as a source for additional revenue to help shore up the unfunded and unsustainable salary and pension obligation of our city employees. Finally, because council mistakes, the Moody Investment Service Company today is contemplating downgrading the financial soundness of the city of Glendale. Thank you. My name is Mike Mohill.
Okay, any other, or do you really want to respond to that? I mean, first of all, did we illegally violate 218?
Well, the transfer at that after 2006 became subject to question after the Supreme Court decided the decision. But before that, it was an open question.
Yeah. Okay.
And there are still cities that make those transfers today because they have not been challenged. The council looked at the facts surrounding that, didn't believe it was worth the risk. And when you look at private water companies and what their annual increases have been over the last several years and what the prognosis is for the coming several years, I would gladly take the Pepsi challenge with any private concern with respect to the service that they provide and the pricing.
Okay. Are there any other comments, Mr. Weaver?
I was going to introduce the ordinance at 8A1.
Do so.
I will not support the issuance of the bonds. I think there are ways we do have the financial means as a city to deal with the infrastructure needs of the water fund and the electric fund, in my opinion. And I will not be supporting the bonds, the issuance of the bonds.
Okay, the vote will be taken next week. The ordinance 8A1 has been introduced.
Let me just,
Mr.
not to, I mean, it's been introduced, but are there alternatives that we have not been presented with to this that we're not seeing? Or, in other words, just pay-as-you-go, whether it's...
Pay-as-you-go is our goal, sir. I mean, that's where we want to get. I do not believe that we can get there today. Mr. Manukian's point is he's made it during the budget deliberation, certainly, is something that it deserves a great deal of consideration. In fact, that's exactly what we did, what he's suggesting on the ISIS, the radios, because the borrowing was of such a size that it was manageable, that we could maintain our risk levels with respect to the sewer fund, yet still make use of our own internal funds. But on a $35 million issue, I don't know that we have that capacity.
Okay.
Can I have the reserve funds by this week so I can look at it before
we will get that up
next
tomorrow.
meeting?
You have that, yes.
Thank you.
All right, next, Mr. Clerk.
9 under hearing is at 9A as Director of Community Development continued from October 16th regarding appeal of parcel map GLN 1628 for property located at 2116 Rimcrest Drive at 9A1 is a resolution certifying a negative declaration. 9A2 is a motion sustaining the Planning Commission's decision and granting the parcel map based on findings and conditions. 3 is a motion reversing the Planning Commission's decision, continuing the matter to the November 13th or next regular meeting thereafter, and directing the City Attorney to prepare written findings in support of denial. 9A4 is a motion sustaining the Planning Commission's decision and granting the parcel map based on the findings of the Planning Commission meeting of June 6, 2012, and the findings and conditions related to Chapter 30.11.040 of the Zoning Code related to hillside design guidelines.
Okay, I'll go to Mr. Garcia first.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This is a continuation of the hearing from October 16th. The council asked for additional information pertaining to the history of the subdivision trap map 31888 and the attendant parcel map 1355A, which created this particular lot that's at issue. Staff has prepared a supplemental report that was part of your packet. and if the council desires, the staff can make a presentation. My suggestion to you is that because this information is not really new because it was brought up at the previous hearing, but my recommendation to you, Mr. Mayor, is to allow the applicant and the appellant speak to that limited issue, give them a reasonable amount of time to speak to that limited issue of the original subdivision and what impact it does or does not have, in their opinion, on the council's decision tonight. And then upon the conclusion of that testimony, that the council deliberate and make a decision on this particular project. I would note that if the council desires to approve the project, that they adopt the resolution at 9A1 and then either the motion 9A2 or 9A4, and then if the council wishes to deny the project, that they adopt the motion at 9A3, directing us to prepare findings denying the project.
Okay, so I've gotten a number of cards here. We had a hearing last week. This is for new information.
This is pertaining to the questions that the council asked last week.
Right.
My recommendation is that you limit the discussion or the comments to those. And you
Which
can
is what? Could you state it so everyone?
Sure. The request that was made specifically was for the conditions that were part of the original track map, as well as sort of the chronology. The council asked for a chronology of that subdivision and the parcel map and how it relates to this particular thing. And that information staff detailed very, very well in the supplemental report that was prepared to you. So my recommendation is to allow the applicant and the appellant to speak on those issues and those issues only. Only.
I would propose that staff make a presentation for their findings for this new information before we hear from, so that everyone knows exactly what information we're looking at.
Yeah, we can do that. And then what we'll do is I will ask I'll start with the appellant. Approximately how many minutes? Who's going to speak for the appellant? All right, so there's two people speaking for the appellant. About how long do you think it's going to take to present your case? 5 minutes, 10 minutes? You tell me.
New information only.
Okay, on the new information. So for you, 5 or 6 minutes, and for you? All right, so there's going to be approximately 10 to 12 minutes that the appellant will speak to this issue. That means that the applicant is going to have the same amount of time as the appellant, 10 or 12 minutes or whatever they use. Now, who gets the rebuttal?
It's up to you whether or not to provide rebuttal. They've had significant time to rebut on both on these issues.
So it's going to be a flat 10 or 12 and who should go first, appellant or applicant?
It's up to you, Mr. Mayor. And again, the appellant has the burden, and we've already given them both ample time to speak.
All
on
right,
it.
so it'll be 10 or 12 minutes, two people speaking for the appellant, and the applicant, who's going to speak for the applicant? Okay. All right, so then we'll have the same, and you're Christopher Gonzalez, right? Yeah, so we'll have the applicant speak for the same amount of time. Go ahead and give us, talk about the new information.
All right, thank you. Brad Collin, Senior Planner, Community Development Department, Planning Division. I'd like to give you a brief overview of the subdivision. The first slide that we have shows the general area, mostly shows the subdivision of the lots under track map, tentative track map 31888, except for the immediate area. The map was approved in 1975 and recorded in 1978. Next slide is we're zooming into the site to show the current application, which is outlined in blue. The slide shows an area that was subdivided 1970s tract map. It shows several residential lots. Does have
It's actually the red button right between the two buttons.
It shows several residential lots on Aspen Oak, as well as a lot that was held as a public park.
The middle one was held for public park?
Yes.
Which, that one?
That.
Okay.
However, there was an error in calculating the grading for this track and for an adjacent track being graded at the same time. It was decided to place an extra 250,000 cubic yards of fill on the north side of Aspen Oak. This affected the Aspen Oak lots, and the city required the owner to file a parcel map, which is parcel map 1355A, to re-subdivide the immediate area.
So Sorry, that hill was a fill, is that what you said?
Yes.
The north side of Aspenoke is a fill?
Yes.
Not all. Part of it is not. Eastern half is a fill. Western is natural.
And the total fill was 250,000 cubic yards.
Addition, yeah. To manufacture the slope.
This shows parcel map 1355A. The park was located up onto Rimcrest, which is the area in the white circle. While our presentation shows a yellow line here, it was actually one lot under the parcel map. Parcel map created 3 long lots on Rimcrest that encompassed the fill slope. In 1991, the city decided to auction off the park site and allow the new owner to resplit it into 2 lots.
Which 2 lots? These 2?
These 2 here. It was originally one lot. Fortunately, for this presentation, we weren't able to show the yellow line being out of there. This is how it is under today's conditions. This returns to the subdivision as it is today. And this is the application before you tonight, where the subject property is proposed to be divided into 3 lots. It should be noted that the previous tentative tract map was approved with no restriction on future subdivision. Once the conditions were fulfilled, the final map was approved and recorded, and none of the conditions are applicable to this project. The subsequent parcel map also had no conditions. This concludes my presentation. I'm available.
I'm sorry, the subsequent parcel map had what?
Subsequent parcel map had no conditions on it because it was a re-subdivision of the original tract map.
Okay.
Any
Concludes my
questions?
presentation.
for
I'm
staff?
available for any questions.
Okay, not for, at this point, there's no questions for you. Okay, so I'm going to start with the appellant. Would you guys approach the... Did you fill out a speaker card?
I did, Charles Santos.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor Quintero and council members. First, I'd like to commend...
6 minutes? 6 minutes? I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I'm going to give him as much time as he needs. I'll give the other appellant as much time as he needs. But however, whatever time they use, the applicant's going to have the same amount of time.
Thank you. My name is Charles Santos, speaking on behalf of the neighbors of Aspenoke Lane. Address is 28310 Roadside Drive, Suite 241, Agora Hills. I want to thank city planning staff for preparing such concise history of this subdivision and these properties in a small window. In the staff report, the planning department confirmed that 240,000 cubic yards of excess dirt was used to create the large fill slope north of Aspenoke Lane, where the applicant's lot is today. Parcel map 1355A was approved by the city to allow for the large fill slope, thus eliminating residential lots north of Aspenoke Lane and moving the park site to Rimcrest Drive. In summary of all the information that's in that report, the city allowed the developer to create a massive fill slope and keep 250,000 cubic yards of soil from being exported for obvious reasons. All the lots were eventually built out with single-family homes. The fill slope was landscaped, irrigated, and left as open space as it exists today. Now, approximately 30 years later, this city council is faced with subdividing this fill slope into further residential lots and exporting more soil away from this site. It's the neighbor's opinion and my opinion that the previous city council was faced with a large mistake, and they found a solution to fix that mistake. Lose a certain number of lots, create a large fill slope, irrigate it, landscape it, maintain it. And I can't imagine that they envisioned that we would be here today 30 years later looking at further subdividing this fill slope, which is a very steep fill slope. So they were forced to make the best decision possible to manage this mistake. It would be a crucial mistake to undo the previous city council's work and to allow for the demolition of that hillside and open space for one applicant's opportunistic venture. The homeowners of Aspen Oak will suffer the impacts of the hillside project for years to come unless this council can stand up and support their opposition of this project. It's been very emotional for them. You can feel the tension. At the last hearing, there was an emotional outburst. The neighbors regret that. They have a hard time containing their feelings after living there for some over 30 years, purchased these lots from the previous developer, who stated to them that there would be no further development across the street. And here they are, this project comes out of left field, and they're faced with a really scary development that's going to impact their way of life. Right now they've been living in harmony, and this threatens that harmony. They never imagined that a project like this would be coming before them. So that being said, they have united to oppose this project. They're grateful for the opportunity to come before the City Council, speak, be heard, and have their fair share on the decision that's made with this project. And I will leave the remaining time to Dave and answer any questions.
Give us your name for the record, sir.
David Kaplan, thank you for letting me speak again. I'm probably one of the few people that was there at the beginning with Ernest Auerbach and Lisa Auerbach when they were doing the project. I was there when we were told, now you have 240,000 cubic yards of dirt you have to move. We had many, many meetings with the planning department. The top of the slope is at a much higher angle than the bottom of the slope. We all know that. And that was a real concern with the planning department. It's an engineered slope. It was never meant to be cut into at all. When you make an engineered slope, you do not touch it. It is almost sacrosanct that you don't destroy the integrity of the engineering work that is done. And I don't see how at this point they can come back and say, oh, we're not hurting it. I also dealt with Kovex Byers, who's the original man who did all this, the engineering company. And we met with the city. And we met the city because we wanted to give the neighbors on Aspen Oak just a few feet of the property across the street to have his garden area or yard area. And Kovex Byers went along with the city and said, no, this is engineered. We don't want anything touched. We had other problems in other sections that had engineered slopes that we weren't allowed to put in decks or anything even close. I've been, like I said last time, I'm involved with over 1,200 homes that have been built on engineered hillsides. And I have never, after the project's been approved and done, had anybody cut into an engineered slope and added additional homes. It's something you just don't do. The last city that did it a major way was in 1985 in San Clemente. And you probably all know what had happened with the city when the slope finally went. They did let them come in and put in 6 houses, caused 106 houses to go. Now, I'm not saying it's going to take 106 houses out, but there's always a possibility that if it does go, it will take out the houses across the street. I don't think most people understand the power of dirt going downhill. I have a degree in physics, and let me tell you, as the amount comes downhill, the amount of force will be just enormous, and a fence won't stop it, a brick wall won't stop it, and a house certainly won't stop it. I met with the planning department head at the time, I can't remember his name, he's now retired in Wyoming, and he literally said to us, that will never be built on. I went to him when I was working for Ernest Auerbach. I went to him when I was working for Security Pacific Bank, which foreclosed on Mr. Auerbach on the property. I went to him when JCC, the buyer of the finished lots from Security Pacific Bank, and I said, what's the chance of anything being, because it was a concern for the people across the street. And he said, there is no way in the world we're going to cut into an engineered slope. I guarantee you, you are wasting your time. Again, we hired with our own money Ernest Auerbach to come talk to him, and they went along with the city. You do not touch it. This is what we did it, and I forget which councilman, I think it was Mr. Weaver, that said it's just the western part is basically natural, and the eastern part is fill. Well, if you take a look at the map, most of the property is on the eastern part where there is fill. I was there when they were grading it. I was there when they were putting in the streets. And 240,000 cubic feet is a lot of dirt. And all you need to do is cut it the wrong way, or cut it in a hurry, or just cut it. And even if you do a good job, you're still destabilizing the slope compared to what it is now. I don't see how it would be any benefit to the city or to the neighborhood to have additional homes. Also, one of the things we had with the city was they said we didn't want our hills desecrated. We want some green space in there. We want our natural slopes. Ernest Auerbach did everything possible he could. And we came up with the 240,000 square feet. It gave us more green area, so open space, which made the city council happy and made the planning commission happy. And to come back 30 years or 35 years later for me and say, we're going to cut into the slope, it's just hard to take all the previous history. And believe me, there were dozens and dozens and dozens of meetings from the 70s all the way to the mid-80s over this one area. And to reverse it now, I think that goes against all the intentions of the city council. The planning department that was actually there when it was being done. Now, the people here, I don't think they even have in your planning department, I don't think they even have the geologic reports on it. I was going over the geologic reports. I also was going over my personal notes, because every time we met with the city, I'd make my own notes. We were denied 7 times, just given 12 feet of land across the street for the people to use, just for some green area. And as far as subdividing or regrading or putting in overhangs, it was no way. And we understood. I mean, JCC has built probably 2,500 homes in the hills, mostly Palos Verdes. And we realized, we weren't going to cut into slope because we weren't going to create a hazard and a danger. That's all I have.
I have a couple of questions. What do you mean you were denied 7 times to do what?
No, we weren't denied. Our engineer, their engineer for Ernest Auerbach, Cobra Spires, the city planner, the head city planner, who lives in Jackson Hole now, Richard Gould, our designer, our architect, Tim Racist, Doug Austin, our grading supervisor. We met with the city planning department. We didn't come to city council. We don't want to come.
But to do what? What were you trying to do? You said 7 times across the street.
Across the street, there's a little bit of a flat area. And we thought it would be nice, instead of it just looking natural, to have lot lines redrawn to give the people on Aspen Oak that 15 feet in front of their house across from it. And basically we were told over and over again, no, this is an engineered slope. We said, we're not even talking about slope. We're talking about the flat area. And he said, when this was being done, everything was taken into consideration, including the flat area. We do not want people to
And then
touch
I have
it.
another question, just a quick question. You keep talking about 250,000. Is it cubic
240,
feet?
240.
240. Is it cubic feet or cubic yards? Cubic yards, right?
Sorry.
Okay, so more than...
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. How many minutes was that, Mr. Kosaki?
That was 12.
12 minutes, okay. So the applicant, Mr. Gonzalez, has 12 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to first address one issue before I'm going to bring up the architect, because there's a lot of issues being discussed about this land and excess fill. The issue of why they were denied 15 times is pretty simple. They didn't own the land. That simple. If you don't own the land, you can't build on the land. So to say and give this another red herring to this committee and this council and the staff, just like the 23 conditions last 2 weeks ago, another red herring. Couldn't do something. The reality is the 23 conditions were all met, as Mr. Garcia said, I think 3 or 4 times, whether done through bonds, CCNRs, approvals, through the final parcel map. In this case, there's another red herring you've been dealt with. And the last one is this attempt to present 15 discussions with the city planner, planning commission. And their issue is the owner didn't allow it. It's simple as that. It was an ownership issue. So I don't want you to have the misperception of that. But the big issue they brought up with Mr. Santos was this excess fill. I'm an attorney. I'm not in the science department in that area. I'm going to bring up the architect who knows much about that and have him discuss it, and I'll close with some comments.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Hamlet Zorabians. I'm the project architect. And what I heard, I just don't know how someone can put together some sort of a hypothetical scenario. I have in my possession all the copies of the notes and memorandums, interdepartmental memorandums of the City Council and Planning Commission. Back then, we're talking about 79 and 83. And let me just tell you what I was able to ascertain from the notes, and so you just judge it yourself or as far as the accuracy of it. Well, first of all, the reason that that 240,000 cubic yards that is mentioned here, let me clarify it for you what that was for. There was in condition of approval of this subdivision, and I have it here. When you go to item number 19, it says that was one of the conditions, that a 5,000 square feet minimum building pad area be maintained on all lots exclusive of required yard areas. That means net. We're talking about no driveways, no setbacks. You exclude those. So they wanted to make sure that was one of the approved conditions, that the site pad area on each lot that they developed was supposed to be minimum 5,000 square feet. Okay? When they started doing the grading, in order for them to meet that requirement, because they approved the track map, but with these conditions that you can see here. So in order for them to meet this, they had to meet this condition. So their lots, as you can see in the first interdepartmental communication right here, it says, according to this, here it says that there were the pads, these are inventory of all the lots, sizes and all the respective specs. It says here that the pads under 5,000 square feet net areas, there are 55 lots. So what I'm saying is one of the items that they encountered was this to meet this requirement. 55 lots, which in their same letter, it calculated to be 10,000, in the order of 10,000 cubic yards of grading for each lot. We're talking about 55 lots that they're under 5,000 square feet. And 2 lines above that, it talks about the sizes. They started with 2,720 square feet per pad. So that was one of the items that this development, in order to be able to construct this subdivision and meet all the requirements, that was one of the requirements that they were supposed to meet. And then we go to this another requirement, requirement number 7. You have it in your position. It's very easy to see. It says that the lot 4 be combined with lot 76, which is designated as a park, as it was shown minutes ago, a site and the tentative tag. And then it says that combined site be made ready for development and dedicated to the city for public park purposes. And listen to this: the developed pad area, this is a requirement, of that subject site to be graded by the subdivider shall have a finished grade not to exceed 4%. You know what 4% is? It's basically flat. They're saying that this park that you're dedicating, you need to grade it to bring it up to 4%. And what is the size of that pad? And it says that 4% and shall be a minimum of 1 acre in size. So that was the second issue that they had there. And the third issue that they had, the number of lots that they had introduced there, they had 5 lots on the north side of the Aspen Oak. Now, here is a part of the memorandum, again, approval of that the motion, after the motion failed, and now this is the requirement. This is a note continuing that. It's in page 4. He says, it was then moved by Councilman Garcin, seconded by Councilman Mesek, that the excess cut, here is what they're saying, this excess cut, what are we going to do about this excess cut? Materials in track number 31888 be accommodated via what? They're gonna do what with it? It says, come via project redesign. They had to reconsider the project that was submitted before and was approved before in conformance with alternative C, which explains it later on. So here's in this very few minutes that I have, I just want to bring this into conclusion. There was a reason for that excess cut, and they explained in the letter that these were the reasons, that they had to regrade this park lot. They had to make all the pads, increase all the pads to 5,000 square feet to meet just the requirements that was attached to their original approval for the subdivision. So if you calculate this, it's very, very obvious to see. 5 lots were eliminated by, I don't know if you can see that there or not, but 5 lots was eliminated. That amounts to some cubic yardage, which they had to eliminate from that 24,000 that they're talking about. Then they had to move that instead of grading the park to 4%, that it was supposed to be like that, they got rid of the park location, moved it to the north, where regraded the 2 lots on the top to sell it later on. That's the second. And then the third part, it was distributed into 55 downslope lots. And you and I know what downslope lot is. When you have a street, in the downslope lot means to the side that is going down. So if you look at the entire subdivision, it's very easy to see. Those lots were the lots that are downslope and to the south side of, especially in this case, the Aspen Oak. So the lots that they had there, the pads were not large enough. The pads were supposed to be 5,000. So that was one of the conditions. They didn't know how much they have to do grading, how much more grading they have to do to comply with those requirements. So that's how they resolved it. It's ludicrous to think 240,000 cubic yard is put on that hillside is ridiculous. If that was completely distributed all over the place in that particular subdivision. And if I had the time, I could just calculate it for you to see what we are talking about as far as the depth is concerned. So these are the things. Can this be true? Well, it is true. I was able to ascertain this thing just by reading the notes here. I didn't put together a hypothetical story for you to tell you. This is it. I got all of these things, all of the maps and everything was in my possession, and I put it all together. This is how it was. The 240,000 cubic yard was not placed someplace. 240,000 cubic yard had to be reduced by redesigning the lots. So they were able to, majority of it, reduce it by reducing that cubic yard to a reasonable amount, and that reasonable amount at the end was distributed throughout the subdivision to make that conditions of approval, to meet the conditions of approval so they can actually get their grading approved. And one thing I just have to mention, when you're talking about grading is not cut. Grading is cut and fill. We must understand. When we are throwing in just a number, 750,000 or whatever, grading, that includes cut and fill. It's never is just only a cut. When you cut, you got to do something about the soil. In order for you to flatten an area and develop a lot, you need to cut and fill. So the numbers could be very deceiving, and I'm urging you to look at it very objectively. to all these discussions. And I have all these numbers, and you have these notes with you. And I would encourage that anyone has any further questions, we can just clarify. And there's I yellowed it out, and it's all in the discussions back then. So if you have any other questions, I'll be available. I just don't want to take any more time.
No worries. I've got about a minute and a half, so I'm going to be somewhat quick. We've only been met with conjecture, a little bit of name calling, and not one shred of evidence from the appellant. You've been faced, and you have a complete package of complete evidence from the applicant. Gone through your city planning commission, through your staff, they've all approved it. If you don't approve it, you're basically telling them they're not really doing their job. They recommended it not just once, not twice, not 3 times, possibly 4 to 5 times, making a recommendation, including today. Your city attorney indicated the burden lies with the appellant. They have proven to you nothing. Just that they're frustrated. That's all they've proven to you, that they're frustrated. On the other hand, they threw the 23 conditions at you last time we saw you. We met every one of those, or they've been swallowed up in the big parcel plan. They came today with a new proposal for 15 feet of land, which was an issue dealing with ownership. The excess fill issue has been addressed. There's been a complaint about noise and pollution. They provided no evidence of that, and it would be also on a very temporary basis. The big one is the supporters. 77 in support of the project, 10 against the project. Look at the households. That's what we have letters from. 77 households in support, 10 don't support the project. And with that, in the end, you've been faced with fact. If you make a decision that's not based on fact, the only thing we can see that as is being an arbitrary decision by you. You've been given a lot of evidence from our side. You've been giving 0 evidence and 0 fact from their side. Thank you.
Okay, those are the 2 presentations. Who wants to start? Mr. Weaver?
Appreciate all the letters that I received. Some 20 against, some 74. Means absolutely nothing to me. I have to deal with the facts, what I've looked at. I studied this track map and the parcel map for the better part of 3 days. Looking at the pros and cons as best I can, I'm going to tell you what I think. And obviously, I'm not going to please everyone. But to put things in perspective, back in 1962, I watched the grading of most of our natural hillsides above Brand. Now we have hundreds and hundreds of homes, and they were natural when I was growing up here. In mid-1970, NEPA and CEQA came into being. And in the late 80s, I chaired a committee that helped create the Hillside Ordinance. Since then, we have revised the Hillside Ordinance many times. We have now design review boards. That the changes that occurred since 1970 were in effect today, our hillsides wouldn't look anything like they are today. You'd have only a fraction of the homes there. But that was the past. We have to deal with that. They're crowded together, but that was until we got to Oakmont. That all changed. With that put in proper context, I want to look at the project today. Track maps, I worked for the city of LA for over 3 years in one period. And all that time, every track map in the city of Los Angeles, including every parcel map, had to come through my desk for approval. Parcel maps are subdivisions or breakdowns of usually large track map parcels or the rearrangement of lots in a subdivision. You can go on the assessor's maps and you'll see it'll say PM, meaning a parcel map. Nothing out of the ordinary about that was done all the time. And a tentative track map puts the conditions on all conditions in the tentative map have to be satisfied to the satisfaction of engineering, planning, whatever, before it can be recorded as a final track map. Big difference. Tentative only gives the developer the conditions to approve. And that's what happened in this case. Original map showed a 3-acre site, and the entrance to the park was going to be on Aspen Lane. Imagine, if you had a 3-acre park there, you're going to have all that traffic coming in and out going to that park. I live in Glen Oaks Canyon. We have 3 parks. We have a golf course. We have traffic coming in and out. Oh, also, there were 2 lots on the north side. Now there are none. So that was the original track map. As we've heard, there was a miscalculation on excess material to be removed. So the parcel map cured that. Way of doing it was dispositing the material where the 3-acre park was. I think I read something in reference that it was going to be a step park, 2 steps, and the city council wanted a flat park. So as part of doing that, they did an engineering fill, a manufactured fill, whatever you want to call it. They put in cross drains for the area. They built they were going to build the park on the top of Rimcrest. Now, my backyard is decomposed granite, about 40, 50 feet up. I put a little swale down at the bottom to catch water coming down. There's a cross drain way up, about 50, 60 feet up. I built that in 1971. Never any flooding at all. Water washes off decomposed granite. You can look at all the fire roads. Almost straight up banks. When water hits, water can come through. You'll see it seeping through. But it does not slip and slide like clay, some of the other materials. When I put in the pool in the backyard, I had to have a jackhammer come and take out some of the material on the bottom. Decomposed granite is like rock. The front of my house, I looked at all the engineering plans. It's 35 feet of compacted fill. Decomposed granite compacted fill. It is really compacted tight when you use that. It's not out of clay or silt. So when it says an engineered or manufactured slope, that's what you have here. You see the cross drains across to catch the water and bring them down. Some people like to think that it's all a manufactured slope, but it is not. You look at some of the aerial photos, you can see the difference in the material. The original slope that's been there since the good Lord created it, and the other where they put the fill in. And where it was natural, there's no cross drains. Why? Because the good Lord created it. Where they manufactured it, they put the cross drains in, so I know where they are. And one of those houses is on the natural material, and one is on the manufactured side. Says that the current homeowners were promised there were no houses. We're going to be on the north side. Well, the original track showed there was going to be 2. That was taken care of. But the track was graded, as far as I can tell, around 1980. According to the assessor's records, all the homes on Aspen Oak were built between 1982 and 1988. So when they bought and they built, I guess, just guessing, the owner of the original track still owned it and told him, nobody will ever build over there. But it wasn't his property. Gentleman, Mr. Bognati, that is going to build there, he owned that land then. So I don't see where they can say what they're saying about that. I went through all the letters that I received, and I made a list of all the negative comments, and I thought, okay, is there merit to any of them? How many? Help me make my judgment call. And I just want to run through them. I think it's worth it because this is the opposition. It's going to create a cascade of other subdivisions. It's a precedent for future subdivisions. You can't. two other parcels that are above, Ms. Spagnotti's, go across. They have no access. They're not going to be able to be built on. It's part of the engineering slope, the natural slope. You can't. And this area up there, it is all built out. Future subdivisions, you can shake your head no, but you're not going to build any subdivisions up there, not with the designer review, not with the hillside ordinance, not with everything we got on the books today. That's been taken care of. You're going to lose greenery, undisturbed mature trees, plants, and shrubs. That bank is made up of shrub material that the fire department comes and tells you to clear, just like he does on my slope. It's fire prone. There's no planted greenery up there. I went up and looked. I don't see it. Hillside erosion, steep hillside, instability. I already answered that. Good Lord created it. It's never slipped. It's not going to slip now. Greedy homeowner. Well, the applicant tells me he's building it for his family. Now you can sit here and say, he's lying. He wouldn't be going to build a house there for his parents, his daughter. Well, you can make your own call whether you want to believe him or not. In the middle of a low-density single-family houses, yes, the whole area is zoned for it. This is no different. It's all single-family, low-density. Drainage problems. No drainage problems. It's an engineered slope with cross drains, what the good Lord created. Not going to have drainage problems. You never have had them yet. Have you seen mudslides out on Aspen Oak Lane? I don't believe you. Substantial amount of grading. No, not for what they're planning to do. That is minor grading. If they go over 1,500 square feet, they'll have to get a variance, right?
Conditional use permit.
Conditional use, excuse me. And that's public, right? People can weigh in.
Yeah, just for the record's clear, they wouldn't in this case because the lots are being created by parcel map.
So they can be over the 1,500?
Correct.
Oh, okay, learn something every day. Okay. Natural rural environment. What natural rural environment? Not with all these homes on it. It's not a natural area. Not at all. It's not environmentally sound. We did a neg deck document that said it is. Now you can question the document, but that time has come and gone. Aspen people purchased homes for privacy and secluded nature of the street. Okay, you could. Every one of your houses all face to the south where that beautiful, gorgeous view is. That's where you spend your time. You spend your time facing Aspen Oak and the trees you planted across the street. I don't think you spend the major time. I live on a hill and I look where the view is. Noise and dust pollution. Well, come on. How do you think the city was built? Any house, anywhere, any remodel job creates noise and dust. That's just part of the growth of the city. Repaving a street. In my neck of the woods, they redid East Glen Oaks. They ripped it up, created dust and noise. We knew it was part of getting the streets resurfaced. The elderly and young children that live there. Well, come on, that is any place in this whole city. It's in any city. Any city has the elderly and young children. Safe. It's a cul-de-sac. How much safer can you get? You want to get down some of these streets where there's maniacs driving out there? I'd be scared for my kids on all these streets. We have a cul-de-sac over 1,000 foot long. You're not going to have speeders. Years of construction activity. My house, I started in February 71 after the great earthquake. We moved to September 26. And it's bigger than these. You're going to do it in a year or less. You got your act together and comply with all the requirements of the city. Damage to the street. Damaged street. I mean, you're going to have damaged streets the whole way down to Glen Oaks. The whole way down. If there is damage. which I don't believe there will be. We're not likely to let trucks and stuff go out there that are going to tear up the street. How do you think all these homes up there got built? They put in the streets first, then they built the homes. You don't build the homes and then put in the streets, so how did they all survive? Wonderview, on down. Let's see, who repairs the streets? I don't know. I gather if your contractor does too much damage to the street, the city will probably come and say, you, the applicant, have to repair the street. Aspen Oak Lane is already crowded with existing on-street parking. 2 driveways take away on-street parking. New homes add to crowded street parking situations, require guests to walk up the hill to house because there's no parking. I went up there. 12 of the 13 homes all have 3-car garages. Why are all your cars out in the street? I mean, is it babysitters? Is it maids? What is it? I can't understand why you can't park 1 or 2 cars in your garage. The street becomes narrower. No. The street is 36 feet wide. That's 2 feet narrower than Wonderview below. Streets don't get smaller downhill, they get smaller going up. House across the street will suffer most significant adverse effects from development. Everybody along that corridor will suffer from some dust and noise during construction, parking of equipment. The equipment will have to be controlled. It'll be monitored by the city and our inspectors. Substantially inhibit ingress and egress from property across the street. Again, not permitted. Inspectors won't permit that. After all, we went up and found 2 homes that are being remodeled with no permits. You think we're going to sit by and watch any more done there without permits? Be on it like a hawk. Constant noise and other annoyances. Have to spend more of their valuable time watching kids or hire babysitters. Wow. Nobody else in the city has these problems, but you will up on this street? I don't buy that. Your valuable time? Kids' curiosity will take them from the backyard to the front yard, thereby increasing their risk. Heck, everybody in the city has kids, have to watch the kids. I don't see what you're getting at in that. Noise will disturb children's daytime sleep. Gee, only kids up there are going to suffer? Come on. Wherever there's any construction, whether you're repaving the street or whatever, there's noise. If there's kids in there, they manage to survive somehow. Noise and dust will impact new paint job on the house and cars. Who pays for it, they want to know. Come on. You get dust on your house, well, when the rains come, it'll wash it off. It'll wash it off your cars. You're not going to have anybody paying, forcing the city or the applicant to pay you to repaint your cars. The aesthetic value of the street will be ruined, and thereby property value is reduced. Well, according to the assessor's records, the average price of a house on Aspen Lane is $1.5 million. And one of those houses that they object to this project is selling their house for $2.25 million. Wow, and you have problems with the kids sleeping during the day and if dust gets on your house. I can't put much credence in that. I said, these are my opinions. Colleagues don't have to agree. In summary, I find that CC&Rs do not apply for the city to make a decision on. They are within the homeowner association. They're all over town. The tentative tract map was approved as a final tract map when the conditions of approval of the tentative map were approved and certified by the city. 2 proposed houses comply with all current city standards requirements. Planning Commission approve the proposed houses, certify the negative declaration on the impacts. So I find no justifiable reason to deny the project. So without going into further detail on every condition, I can make all the findings necessary on this project. There's nothing there. I went over every objection I just told you. I went over every condition that your letters had in them. I gave you my opinion on every one, and you're asking me to deny it based on those reasons. You're living in houses that 98% of the people in this city can't afford to live in. You don't want this man to build a house for his kids, because of course he's lying. He's going to make a fortune out of this. Well, I just happen to believe him. So with that,
Okay.
I'll support it, except there's one word. I asked Mr. Garcia to make clear in the motions if that motion is made.
Okay, I'll go next. I'm going to focus on the public policy aspects of this and get away from the personalities involved. The applicant and his wife is someone that have contributed to city nonprofits, and I know personally, and I think he's an excellent individual. But it's not about him or it's not about the neighbors. It's about this house and whether it's good public policy to build two houses on this slope, and I don't believe it is. I think it's obvious from the record that 30 years ago that lot was specifically not to be developed. I think the record is clear on that. The house was put on rimcrest, and the rest of that slope was to be just the way it is now. When you walk and look at that property, I'm going to use my hand because I don't know. We talk about an average slope. This is what that slope looks like when you're standing and looking up at that hillside. And the idea that two homes will be built there, that was not the intent of the council back then, and it absolutely is not the intent of the hillside ordinance. I mean, we've been working on this hillside ordinance for close to 12 years, and we've gone round and round and created the design review boards and all the rest of it, and here we are at the end of the 12 years considering granting two homes where they just plain do not belong. I mean, I'm very clear that this is absolutely not anything that I'm interested in. And I think it's going to be detrimental to the adjoining properties and the surrounding neighborhood. And also it talks about clustering, how basically we have a single loaded street. The entire street is developed on one side. It's totally undeveloped on the other. So I think that's what the guidelines encourage, and I think that's what we need to do. So leaving the personalities aside and so forth, I just don't see how we can approve this. The applicant has a home, is currently living on a home. We're not taking his property. Sometimes when someone has invested time and money buying a particular parcel with the intent to develop it, that's a different story. In this case, the applicant is living in his home, facing rimcrest, and then at the very bottom of his property is this, land that I don't think it was the intent of the council at the time, nor of the ordinance that we've worked on all these years. So I'm against the applicant. And I do think the Planning Commission, I don't believe all of the planning commissioners were there, and it was or one had to recuse himself. It wasn't a majority, well, it was a majority, but it wasn't a unanimous vote. Okay, Ms. Friedman, you're next.
So These are some of the hardest decisions to make because there's no compromise. Someone's going to be unhappy, someone's going to be happy. I think that the applicant has every right to ask for this subdivision. He's got a very large lot. And some of the arguments of the appellant to me, like dust and noise, are not something I would ever rule on because people below you had dust and noise from your homes for a very long time. You know, we just can't take that into account. However, there are issues with this particular proposal that trouble me, and it has to do with because it is a hillside. I mean, just to sort of narrow it down and not drag this out, I do think that the owners of the existing houses did have a reasonable expectation that that hillside would not be developed. Legally, the city can change that. We can make those findings and we can grant this parcel map. But that doesn't change that these people had a reasonable expectation of a hillside that wouldn't be developed, not just because of the CCNR, but because of the original conditions of approval of the entire parcel map. I don't know whether they bought their houses with that expectation, but I could conceivably believe that they did, and that concerns me. What concerns me more is the hillside guidelines, and this whole development, when you look at it, particularly from above, but when you're driving up there too, would never conform to today's hillside guideline standards. It's just not the way we develop now. I believe that this area is overdeveloped for our hillsides. It's the kind of development that caused us to create new standards to stop this sort of higher density single-family development. To me, adding these two houses would be sort of like adding insult to injury. We'd be putting more houses in an area that I think is already overdeveloped, where we really desperately need those open spaces to counter that mass of development that we have on those streets below. I'm also concerned about the steepness of the slope. I wasn't on this council when the average slope concept came about, but I believe that it doesn't work. I don't care. I don't know why you would care about a part of a hillside that's 100 feet away from where you're putting your house. I mean, really, if you're going to care about the slope at all, you should care about the slope where you're building. And the steepness of the slope on the second lot does concern me, not from a safety point of view, but just from sort of a hillside design point of view. I will say that the architect has done probably the best job you could do developing to design this within the hillside guidelines. The houses are beautiful. They're more of what should have been in this entire area, but that's not the condition that we have now. I just believe that this area is overdeveloped, that putting these in would just put a lot more building mass in a hillside that really needs more open space, so I can't support the application. And I'm sorry for the applicant because, like I said, it's hard to walk out of these kinds of meetings feeling happy as a decision maker because someone's going to be unhappy. And I don't know him personally, but I think he's suffered a lot of insults that he probably doesn't deserve throughout this process. So I apologize for that.
Mr. Manukian? Thank you. These are the kind of decisions that, as has been said already, that we don't look forward to, and I don't look forward to. And I've looked at this issue. Even by the time I came here tonight, I still had not decided which way to go. I wanted to hear what additional information or the explanation from the staff. However, I don't believe that the developer will be injured in any way if this lot is not developed. The value of his house will still be there, and he can probably sell it for more than what he purchased it for. However, I do believe that by developing these lots, it will be detrimental to the properties surrounding this lot. So I will agree with the mayor and Ms. Friedman, and I will not support it.
Darian.
Well, thank you. I was looking for an easy way out to try and deny this project, and that's why I raised the issue 2 weeks ago, I guess, about the 23 conditions, and there was an indication that the way that the subdivision had been progressing, they had overgraded and therefore basically frozen this particular lot the way it is to prevent any further subdivision. Unfortunately, that's not the case. There was no condition imposed, binding provision imposed on this lot to prevent it from being subdivided. The condition that does apply, and I walked over to Brad, is the lot size of 5,000 square feet. And he indicated, I couldn't read that, that's why I was squinting, and I still have a hard time reading this very fine print. But he tells me that the pad sizes, not the lot sizes, the pad sizes, the flat area, is significantly in excess of 5,000 square feet. Is that correct, Brad? That's what you told me, and that's what the numbers seem to indicate. Anyone? Brad? Tim? Do you know what I'm saying? I'm saying there are proposed pad sizes for lots 2 and 3.
Correct.
And the numbers there as submitted indicate pad sizes greater than 5,000 square feet.
Right, but the 5,000 square feet was a condition of approval from track map 31888, which have all been complied with and basically aren't applicable to this project.
In any event, my question is that the current pad sizes are greater than 5,000 square feet.
That's correct.
That was my question. So the intent at that time on the conditions imposed on this subdivision were that there not be little tiny pads. In fact, Mr. Gonzalez pointed out that, or someone pointed out, that some of those pads are as small as 2,700 square feet. So we're not proposing to put tiny size pads on these lots. The pads are sufficiently large to comply with the intent of the initial restrictions. That's item 19. There is some discrepancy and disagreement as to that slope. Mr. Kaplan indicated that that slope was graded and built, and it's teetering right on the edge, basically, that it was so fragile that not even a use as a garden, I think, or some open space would permit it to be used safely, that there'd be some sort of sliding and slipping and landslide. However, Mr. Zarabian says, no, that's not the case. This deficit, this deficiency in the grading plan of 250,000 square yards was a prospective deficiency. It was not an actual overgrading where that entire amount of 250,000 square yards, cubic yards, was dumped on this slope. So I'm hearing it from both sides. One side says, that slope is ready to go, don't touch it. The other side says, no, they caught their mistake before they had actually excavated, and that's why there was adjustments made and some lots were smaller, etc. So it's not clear what's going to happen to that. I wish our city engineer was here, or maybe our city historian, to let us know exactly what happened on that lot. I presume, however, that the geological work has been done or will be done at some point to confirm the exact nature of that slope, because there's going to be a huge liability should that slope fail and go rolling down the hill. Is your house below that, Mr. Quintero?
No,
I think you're off to the side.
I'm way off, way
Okay.
off. I'm in the mid-century.
But potentially
home
a
section.
huge liability. My point is that this is going to be a very closely scrutinized grading plan and excavation to make sure that there is not a huge liability. And speaking of liability, Mr. Garcia, the city would have no liability for a slide solely based on our decision to permit a subdivision?
That's correct, sir.
The other question I had, at some point, and during one of the correspondence exchanges, not exchange, but receptions that I had, was that the CC&Rs are, that the city is somehow involved in the enforcement of the CC&Rs, that they cannot be changed without the city approving any change. Someone wrote me that letter. I think it was an attorney from the appellant's side. Is that your understanding?
No, Councilman Najarian, no. These CC&Rs are private restrictions enforceable only by those that are party to them. I will tell you that in our history doing subdivisions, the CC&Rs are usually submitted at the time of the final map approval just to make sure that they're consistent with what was approved, but then at that point we have no say in how they're enforced.
Okay. Because if the city did have a role in enforcing them, it would certainly make us cross the line to the private enforcement alternatives or options of the CC&Rs by the neighborhood. So I'm going to assume that the city is not directly involved in that. Any rights that are vested in the homeowners by the CC&Rs remain viable and remain susceptible to a court of law in terms of interpreting them and determining the rights of the parties. The Hillside Ordinance was raised, and I don't think that the Hillside Ordinance at this point is applicable because are there any Hillside Ordinance provisions that would restrict a subdivision, this tentative parcel map to be granted?
There are hillside design guidelines that would influence your decision on whether it should go forward and be approved, but that's a discretionary matter.
So are we
It doesn't
factoring-
prohibit it, no.
I'm sorry?
The guidelines do not flat out prohibit subdivision, no.
There was a conceptual drawing submitted recently by the architect which showed the two homes on lots 2 and 3, and the cypress trees were still, the cypress trees were in existence. They were not taken down. Now, I'm not sure that's an offer for us to accept a development that would maintain those cypress trees. I think it certainly would create a greater buffer between the new homes and the current residents on Aspen Oak. It struck me as odd that those cypress trees would be in the drawings because clearly that is the best view looking south, the southern vista. So I'm not sure if that was a little teaser for the council to say, oh, these homes aren't going to, they're hardly visible. Look at all these cypress trees. I would imagine, however, that they would be removed. Most of them would be removed if those homes were actually built. So I guess what I'm getting at is I was looking for a reason to deny this, a legal reason, but I can't find a legal reason to deny the creation of these two lots. I understand that it was the intent to preserve this lot and the one above it with exceptionally large sizes, but unfortunately that restriction was not carried over to the current 23 conditions granted at the time of the approval. So I can't use that as a hook. So this gentleman, this family, has a large lot. There's street access. It doesn't block the view of any residents. The great view is clearly to the south of Glendale and the LA Basin, and I'm sure you see the ocean on a clear day and maybe even see the boats in the harbor in Catalina. The design seems to be set into the hillside in a sensitive manner. I would support this project at this time.
Mr. Mayor,
Okay, Ms. Weaver.
one other thing, I'd like everybody someday to go up by Glendale College, Hugo, turn up mountain. When you get to the 2 freeway, look across the street at that steep slope You'll see a house built on the bottom of the slope and one at the top of the slope where they had to put wire mesh all along the middle of the slope to keep the rock fouling when they were building on virtually nothing but slope. Now, I don't know how those two houses got built. I watched them go. I said, I can't believe it. That's much worse than this one. I don't know.
Well, but that's what we're trying to avoid, worst-case scenarios.
Those two are up there, and they're monsters.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, before the motion is made, just one, if you haven't closed the hearing, to close the hearing.
Close
but
the public
two,
hearing.
also to make all documents and evidence that were submitted as part of the hearing today and 2 weeks ago made part of the record. Just ask that you make that order and then go ahead and proceed with the motion.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So now, I saw the staff, the suggested motions, and maybe I read it wrong, but it seemed that if we were going to overturn the Planning Commission hearing, that you would have to prepare a list of findings, so we have to continue the meeting.
Well, the hearing is closed, but we're asking, as we typically do, that the council, if the council wants to reverse the Planning Commission's decision, that it vote to do so and direct our office to prepare findings consistent with your deliberations this evening. So that's what the motion is, essentially. So we bring that back, and there would be the hearing's closed, there would be no further discussion unless somebody had some specific issue on the findings, and then we'd bring that back for 2 weeks.
No, all right, do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
983, is it?
Yes.
Second?
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Council members: Friedman,
Yes.
Nukian,
Yes.
Najarian,
No.
Weaver,
Oh,
Darrow.
Yes. Okay, that's it. The hearing is over. The applicant,
Question for the city attorney.
Yes.
If it were the prerogative of the council to promote a one lot, creation of one additional lot, in what manner would that take place? Is that something that would occur now, or do they have to go through the whole process again?
They would have to apply for a new subdivision parcel map, but obviously as part of tonight, if that's, or when we come back with the findings, if council members want to express that that's something at least they're open to considering, then that's something you can do, but the motion will be to bring back the findings for denial.
Would anyone support a one lot subdivision?
Two lot in this case.
well, I'll say I won't. Subdivision. For me, it's about the hillside ordinance and about that hillside staying in the same natural condition that it's been for the past 30 years.
And just keeping in mind, again, obviously, that the owner is free to submit another application. That's different. That's different than what was submitted here tonight.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, Mr. Kasakian.
Mayor, next on the agenda is oral communications. We return to the 5-minute portion. Discussion is limited to items not part of this agenda. Each speaker will be allowed 5 minutes. Members of the council may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. The city manager may refer the matter to the appropriate department for an investigation and report.
Okay, Noel Johnson, followed by Mike Mohill.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. My name is Noel Johnson, and I've lived for the last 30 years at 412 North Kenwood Street. I believe that if you embrace the proposal I'll be making shortly, the city's public policy goals will be strengthened, and of particular importance in this time of revenue shortfalls, the city will immediately save more than $200,000 a year. I hope that got your attention. First, some facts. Recently, I dislocated a hip while at home. An EMS team consisting of 1 fire engine, 1 ambulance, and 6 firefighters responded to the 911 call and transported me to Glendale Adventist Medical Center. My health insurance plan was billed $1,602 for that service, including a $128 charge for running the siren and lights. Concerned about the amount of the bill, I spoke by phone with a representative of the Glendale Fire Department who explained that billing for ambulance services is not based upon cost of service. Rather, the amount billed is simply the maximum amount allowed under the current LA County ordinance covering general ambulance rates. I have a copy of that ordinance if you folks would like one. In this case, for example, I was billed at the advanced life support level, even though no respiratory or heart problems were at issue and no IV or meds were used. I then did some research and learned the following. First, the annual cost for all the city ambulance runs is less than $3 million. Second, the annual net revenues received by Glendale Fire Department for these runs is more than $3 million, thereby covering the costs. Third, in the past fiscal year, the Glendale Fire Department, in its budget, wrote off more than $8 million of the gross annual billings as an insurance allowance or as uncollectible. Fourth, the Glendale Fire Department, again via the budget, spent more than $300,000 that fiscal year with the Sacramento company to process and collect its billings. And lastly, that company's fees are based on a percentage of the total amount billed. For an example, that $300,000 or more than $300,000 would equate to something like 3% of the more than $11 million billed the past fiscal year. My proposal is simple, and that is that the Glendale Fire Department switch to a billing system for EMS ambulance runs that's based on cost of service rather than the current practice based on the LA County ordinance. Under such a system, the amount of gross billings would be reduced by more than $8 million a year, the $8 million that's currently written off as insurance write-downs or uncollectibles, thereby dropping the billing company's fee to just over $100,000 a year from its current $300,000, resulting in a savings to the Glendale Fire Department and the city of more than $200,000 a year. The annual net billings would remain the same in the neighborhood of $3.5 million. Although I noticed in the proposed budget for the 2013 fiscal year, it projects a 15% increase in the gross billings on ambulance runs. In addition, billings based on cost of service constitutes better public policy in that it's more transparent from an accounting standpoint in that the department doesn't bill the much higher number and then write off 70% of it. And it's fairer to all the citizens of Glendale, especially the uninsured who are liable for the entire $1,600 bill since they don't have insurance to take up part of that. My request tonight is simple, that you direct your staff to meet with me and discuss my research and conclusions. Second, investigate the matter fully and prepare a formal report to the council which contains specific recommendations as to the billings. And thirdly, calendar the matter for a future hearing date with notice and opportunity to be heard to all the interested parties, obviously including me. Thank you very much for your opportunity to be heard on this important matter. I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time or meet with whoever you want me to meet with.
Okay, we will make comments at the end of oral communications after all the cards have been taken.
Again, thank you very much.
Thank you. Mike Mohill, followed by Tony Passarella.
Good evening, Mayor Quintero, council members. My name is Mike Mohill. My fellow Glendalians, our city council wants to rewrite the city charter to the detriment of the residents, businesses, and the schools of Glendale. Our city council has told the public they want to legally streamline the transfer up to 25% each year from the revenue fund of the Glendale Water and Power Department, the GWP, and not from the surplus fund. By continuing to transfer money first from the revenue fund and not from the surplus fund, the public will not be aware there will be little money left over, or shall I say no money left over, for infrastructure repairs within the GWP. Some would say the streamlining and transfer would make the violation of Proposition 26 and Proposition 218 appear legal, and Council wants the voters' approval in April 2013. Our current city charter is not obsolete, as the city manager and the city council members want the public to believe. Transferring money from the revenue fund first will be like stealing from the GWP for the benefits of our city workforce. Instead of keeping Glendale Water and Power revenues with our utility company first for needed infrastructure repairs, council members Najarian, Friedman, and Quintero want to do the continued bidding for our city unions in making sure there is sufficient money to pay for the bloated salaries and pensions of our city employees. Many will leave the city as millionaires, retiring after 30 years at age 50 or 55. In 2009, Councilman Najarian and Quintero each received $15,000 from the political action committees of our city unions. And as a non-incumbent candidate, Councilwoman Laura Freeman received $3,500 from the union PACs. Also, Councilman Weaver in 2011 received $8,600 from the Glendale Police Department Political Action Committee. In the game of pay-to-play politics, city unions are the winners, and the voters who put council members Najarian, Friedman, Weaver, and Mayor Quintero into office are the losers. In just 12 years, our city council have drained Glendale Water and Power of approximately $235 million going into the pockets of our union employees. These monies should have been stayed and used for the infrastructure of our city. Instead, they went to the city workers. Tonight, the City Council approved a $35 million water bond. That's $35 million. To cover up the mistakes our city councils have made, because they chose to transfer $235 million out of the GWP, money which should have stayed in the utility for needed infrastructure. Our City Council recently raised our water rates again 13% incrementally over the next 4 years, on top of the 38% water rate increases since 2007. By 2015, residents, businesses, and schools will have been assessed a 51%, I say 51% water rate increase. Ladies and gentlemen, the first obligation of government should be for the people, but we continue to have council members whose first obligation are the contracts they have signed with special interests of our city. We need to send a clear message to our city council members that we have had enough utility rate increases, bond debt for our children. If the public wants to ensure we have needed money in Glendale Water and Power to handle future infrastructure repairs, we need to vote out and have no GWP charter changes in April 2013. In 2013, we need to vote for non-incumbent candidates who would be against the illegal transfer of millions of dollars from the GWP to the general fund, and candidates who are neither endorsed nor receive campaign money from the city unions. Being beholden to the city unions, our council candidates have historically not put the interest of our city businesses, and schools first. As I said earlier this evening, because of council mistakes, the Moody Investment Service Company is contemplating downgrading the financial soundness of my loved city called Glendale. Thank you. My name is Mike Mohill.
Tony Passarella, followed by Betty Gustafson.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, staff, and viewing public. My name is Tony Passarella. I'm a 25-year resident of the city of Glendale, and I'm here to talk about GMO. Monsanto, DuPont, and others have raised $40 million to oppose this, and I found a video for the yes people, and we'd like to roll that for you since We can't raise that kind of money. Please watch this video.
What is a GMO? Scientists have discovered that by artificially manipulating the DNA of natural food, they can create a killer tomato. There are numerous intended purposes for modifying the genetics of food, one of which is to breed fruits and vegetables that produce their own internal insecticides. The concerns are obvious. If the food kills bugs, what does it do to us? Proposition 37 requires manufacturers of food containing GMOs to add a few extra words to their content label.
In Europe, where GMO foods require labeling,
the cost to consumer has increased less than 0.2%.
cases of autism, bowel-related syndromes, and food allergies have skyrocketed.
Since GMOs were quietly introduced into our food system in the mid-1990s.
The U.S. military sprayed an herbicide known as Agent Orange over the jungles of Vietnam.
After its manufacturers declared it tested and safe.
It was later determined that numerous people, including American veterans, were killed or maimed.
And countless children were born with birth defects.
The same chemical company who manufactured Agent Orange
is currently leading the production of GMOs.
And spending millions of dollars to campaign against labeling.
It may be years before we know the long-term effects of genetically modified foods. Until then, we are simply asking for companies to label their packages and give us a choice to opt in or opt out of this science experiment. Already, over 50 countries have successfully implemented GMO labeling. The U.S. remains one of the only industrialized nations yet to get with it. While we may not have the financial backing of the corporations, what we do have is the power of the people. 93% of Democrats, 89% of Republicans, and 90% of everyone else is standing together for our right to know what's in our food.
So I'm here tonight to ask my fellow Glendalians to vote yes on Proposition 37. This is something that affects every man, woman, and child in this city, in the state, and in the country. Ask yourselves this: why are we the leaders in cancer, this nation, in diabetes, in obesity? Could it be because of what we're eating? Please vote yes on Proposition 37. Thank you for your time. My name is Tony Passarella.
Betty Gustafson.
Good evening, members of the City Council, and good evening to the viewing public. My name is Betty Gustafson, and I'm here to urge the Glendale residents and anybody else that may be watching to support Proposition 37, a ballot measure to require labeling of genetically modified foods purchased at local grocery stores. Last week, the Los Angeles City Council unanimously passed a resolution in support of Prop 37. It provides for transparency in food ingredients. As consumers, it is our right to know so we can choose to consume or avoid those products. Medical science shows us that the artificial ingredients we once thought as safe have sometimes turned out to have significant adverse health effects. Let me ask you this. Do you remember trans fats? The engineered oils that reduced distribution cost by allowing food to remain on the shelf for months, if not years. Well, we now know that trans fats are one of the worst artery clogging ingredients ever invented. Today we can go a long way to avoid trans fats by just reading the food labels. Look, we don't have all the answers today, but medical science may find 10 or 20 years from now the negative impacts of the engineered foods of today. We can choose to eat or avoid those foods, but only if the information is on the label. Any sensible person will agree with that. For your health and for the health of your children and grandchildren, let's put transparency on our food labels. We all should have the right to know. Next Tuesday, vote yes on Proposition 37. Thank you.
Okay, that's the final speaker. The first speaker seems like that would be directed to the fire chief, right?
Yes, sir. We will do that. Our paramedic program is considerably larger than that. He may be referring just to that which is carried in the paramedic fund, which we're collapsing, as you know. We do write off a good deal of bad debt because we otherwise wouldn't be looking to file claims on people that can't afford to pay. So what we will do is have Chief Scoggins get in contact with him, and we can talk about it at that point.
Okay, we can have the fire chief contact you so you can
open
your ideas with it.
Then you can come back and see me again.
You'll hear from him.
You'll hear
Make
from
sure
him.
you'll hear from him.
Do we have,
I come back and see you,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Uccello?
do we have your,
Yes, sir.
do we have your phone number?
Yes, I gave him a card. Thank you very much.
And I'd like to hear back from staff. It doesn't have to be publicly, but I'd like to hear back.
We'll make sure we give that to council.
Mr. Manukian.
Yes, since next week is election, I was looking at the schedule for next week. It looks fairly heavy. Are we going to do anything to make the schedule lighter so we can attend some of the events that we need to attend?
Certainly, we can arrange that. If it means putting things in the afternoon, we can do that to get the meeting over earlier in the evening.
Translation, he's talking about the parties afterwards.
No, actually, I want to go watch results.
We will arrange that.
Right.
That's a good idea.
The water item does have to be in the evening because it's an ordinance.
Right. But we start at 6, and we can keep that light.
Mr. Jerry.
I'd like to address Mr. Mohill. Mr. Mohill, you come before us, you speak in generalities, very vague and very ambiguous. So I'm issuing you a challenge, Mr. Mohill. I'm issuing you a challenge to go out in L.A. County, and let's even extend it to Riverside County as well. Let's make it a 3-county area, L.A., Riverside, and San Bernardino. Excluding any city that has gone through bankruptcy, I challenge you to bring forth another city that's had a tougher policy on raises on their major employment groups and has had a tougher policy on pensions and employee contributions to PERS. That's my challenge, sir. And you can come back next week, maybe the week after, take as much time as you want, but I would let you know that if you come again and speak in your vague generalities, I won't be giving those vague generalities very much credibility. So come forth with some facts. I'll be happy to entertain a discussion with you, either on or off the dais. Thank you.
Mr. Weaver, you have some new business?
Yep. I'd like to move that the city attorney is authorized to accept the sum of $98,500 to resolve the matter entitled City of Glendale versus Sabitas Superior Court, case number EC 056593.
And a second?
To help Mo.
Second.
Going to Vegas.
Roll call.
Friedman?
Yes.
Nukian?
Yes.
Najarian?
Yes.
Weaver?
Aye.
Mayor Quintero?
Yes.
Motion and
adjourn?
second to adjourn?
Second.
We are adjourned.
Have a good trip.